he accepted the citizenship of England and became an Englishman. So he was the descendant of a Hindu, the inhabitant of Caribbean nation, and became a citizen of England. Marked three phases in his life. Anyway, this man died in the year 2018. This is a short biography of V.S. Naipaul. We cannot concern much of time on his biography. V.S. Naipaul has dedicated long 30 years to writing. And within this long span of 30 years, he has produced as many as 23 books. So his fourth novel is this one that we are going to discuss, A House for Mr. Biswas. And before this novel, he wrote another three important novels. Number one, The Mystic Monsieur, published in the year 1957. The Mystic Monsieur, first novel. Second novel, The Suffrage of Elvira. The Suffrage of Elvira, published in the year 1958. His third novel, Miguel Street, in the year 1959, and A House for Mr. Biswas is his fourth novel. And this novel was published in 1961. And it is because of this novel that he earned global reputation as a writer. The previous three novels recognized him to be a writer in England only. But after the publication of this English novel, A House for Mr. Biswas, he rose into eminence and became a global figure in the realm of Commonwealth literature. This is a literary output. Now let us come to the most significant part of V.S. Naipaul, that what were the formative influences to making V.S. Naipaul what he is today now? What are the influences? And before going to the influential factors in his life, let me sketch a little bit about the history of Caribbean politics. Caribbean nation means West Indies country. That in the year 1492, Columbus made his voyage with the intention of discovering India. But unfortunately, he landed on a piece of land which was not India, rather it was West Indies. And he thought that he had discovered India. So West Indies was discovered and its name was given Caribbean Union. So in the year 1502, the Spaniards were the first European race that came to Caribbean nation and established an establishment. After the Spaniards came the Dutch, the Portuguese, the French, and at last the British. So from the year 1502 to 1959, for a long period of years, the British people ruled this subcontinent, the Caribbean subcontinent. And during their colonial rule, they left a number of imprints. The first imprint was that the British popularized the system of agriculture, which was called plantation agriculture. That large piece of land will be recruited, it will be bounded, and inside it, different crops will be cultivated. This is called plantation agriculture. They started plantation agriculture in Caribbean states, and for this plantation agriculture, they required a number of laborers. So they put their attention on China and India. At that time, India was under the British rule. So they recruited number of Indian laborers who were interested to go to Caribbean states, and they were called indentured laborers. Indentured, INDENTURED. Indentured laborers means the laborers will sign a contract. According to the contract, they will have to work under one master for minimum 5 years and at a fixed price of charge. After the over of 5 years, the indentured laborers will be declared free, then they will choose their own career. So this is called indentured laborers. So a large number of people from Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, West Bengal, and Madras state wanted to be indentured laborers. They were shipped, SHIPPED. They were shipped to Caribbean states, and since then, the Indians have been inhabiting the Caribbean states. And this process of indentured laborers started in the year 1830s. Now come to this man, Sir Vidyadhar Suraj Prasad Naipal, the great grandmother of Suraj Prasad Naipal, had come to this place as an indentured laborer. And then the son of that lady became an indentured laborer. That means the grandfather of Naipal. And this man, this grandfather had three children, three sons. After completing his indentured period of 5 years, the grandfather of Naipal decided to come back to India, but his last son, he did not like to come back. Rather, he escaped when the ship was ready to leave the port. The last son, the youngest son, escaped. He ran away. He told that I don't like to leave this place. And the last son is the father of B.S. Naipal. Had that son come back to India, the destiny of V.S. Naipal could not have been just. Anyway, his father remained there. As his father remained, his grandma had also to stay with her son. So the whole family stayed there. Gradually, his father grew up to be a Pandit, Pundit. So initially, V.S. Naipal's father was a Pandit, doing pujas and other religious activities and earning money. But V.S. Naipal was not born to be a Pandit. He was perhaps born to be a poet. So this is the background of V.S. Naipal. Mark that he was the descendant of a labor community. But by dint of his self-effort and the effort made by the British government, he became a scholar in Oxford University and became a writer later on. So first important thing about V.S. Naipaul is that he was an Indian descendant. His fathers and forefathers belonged to India. This is first important thing. Second important thing is that though he was an Indian descendant, he was born in West Indies. And third important thing is that he did not stay in West Indies, he did not stay in Caribbean land. Rather, he accepted the citizenship of England and became an Englishman, and he died in London in the year 2018. So, three factors: an Indian, born in Caribbean state, and became the citizen of another country, another nation. So come back to the history of 1830s, that every indentured laborer had signed the bond for 5 years. That for 5 years they would work there in the plantation managed by the British managers, and after 5 years they are free to come back. So what happened? After completing their tenure of 5 years, they extended the tenure up to another 5 years, that is to say for 10 years. After 10 years, there was no extension of the bond contract. Then the laborer Indians, what did they do? They moved to the village area, rural areas of different parts of West Indies, and they settled there. They did not like to come back. Anyway, some of them wanted to come back to India, but most of them did not come back to India, so they settled there. And now this is why a large number of population of West Indies constitute Indian population. So after moving to rural areas, they started settling there, but they felt a gap, and this is called cultural gap. That they belong to a different cultural setup. There is Indian culture, and they shifted their lodging to Caribbean state. So my general question is that when we immigrate, when we shift our lodging and boarding to a foreign country, what do we take there with us? Can we take our furniture there with us? No, we cannot take our furniture with us. We simply go in the dress and this much. Then what do we take? We take a lot of mental things. We take our culture, we take our social system, we take our religious practices in our mind. And these indentured laborers had taken Indian culture tradition to West Indies. So after settling down in different villages, they try to consolidate their religious edifice, their cultural edifice. So as among the laborers, the maximum number was from the Brahmin community. The Brahmins again became a dominant caste in West Indies. And the West Indies Brahmins, they were very devoted to practices of religion because they thought that religious practices will provide them money. So they became professional worshippers of Hindu concept, Hindu religion there. So they adapted bhajans, kirtans, Ramacharit Manas. They did all these things. The reason was that first they wanted that by doing all these things, they would be able to earn money, the Brahmins. And second, they wanted to preserve the Indian culture there. So to be frank enough, they created or they produced a parallel India there with all Indianness about it. But what about V.S. Naipaul? V.S. Naipaul could not completely accept Indian culture because he was born in a different cultural and social setup, that was West Indies. And at that time, West Indies was under the sway of the British people. So British Western culture was European culture was there. American culture had just set coming in. The native culture had been there, and Indian culture was in the blood of V.S. Naipaul. So in the center of a homogeneous cultural elements, V.S. Naipaul fell in a confusion that to which culture he should stick to, because he could not give up Indian culture as it was in his blood. Uh, and in the same time, he cannot give up the native culture which was always there before his eyes. So in the pressure of homogeneous cultural elements, V.S. Naipaul developed a strange personality, and the part of his personality was his identity crisis. That who am I? He asked this question to himself, and he could not reply. He did not get any answer. He could not say that I am an Indian. He could not completely say that I am a Caribbean man, nor could he say that I am a British man, because cultural pressure was too much with him. He wanted an identity. V.S. Naipaul visited India in the year 1962, and at that time he visited India not as an Indian but as a casual tourist. He came to India as a tourist. Now, this is the a freak of destiny, that a man who is of an Indian descendant is coming to visit India as a tourist. He visited several places. He even went to Jammu and Kashmir. But after visiting, he wrote his experience in one line, and the line was that India is a vast country. I am afraid of this country. I cannot stay here, because if I continue staying here, I will submerged here. India will get me submerged in her body. I do not want to be submerged. I want to evolve. I want to rise. I want to rise as somebody else. So after leaving India in the year 1962, he went back to Caribbean state, Trinidad and Tobago, where he was born, and then immediately he accepted the citizenship of England and became an Englishman. Some journalist asked him, "Sir, why did you take up the citizenship of a foreign land, foreign nation?" Then Naipaul told, "Because I wanted to be popular. That so far as my sensibility of a writer is concerned, Trinidad and Tobago was not a suitable climate for me. I wanted readers of my books. I wanted publishers for my books. And all these readers and publishers were found only in England. So, in order to publish myself, in order to make myself publicized, I wanted to be the citizen, and I became a citizen." Okay, so these are the backgrounds on which V.S. Naipaul evolved his career as a writer. Now, let us come to the novel A House for Mr. Biswas. Before we go into its different critical elements, I think it will be very helpful for you if you know the synopsis of this novel in brief. So, V.S. Naipaul is the story of Mohan Biswas, Mohun Biswas. Mohan Biswas. Mohan Biswas was a Hindu Indo-Trinidadian. He was a Hindu boy. He was born in the rural area of Trinidad and Tobago, and he was born of a Brahmin family. And that Brahmin family was very poor. Raghu was the father of Mohan Biswas. So when Mohan Biswas was born, a Brahmin came to his house and gave a very strange prophecy, very strange forecast. Because Mohan Biswas was born with an extra finger in one hand. Having seen this extra finger, the Brahmin predicted that this boy would not be a good man in his life. He would be a struggler. He would be very much spendthrift by nature. He would spend a lot of money unnecessarily. This boy would be a liar, and this boy would spoil the life of his father and mother. This was the prediction made by a Brahmin at the time of his birth. And the Brahmin warned Mohan Biswas, "Please do not go near tree or water. If you go near tree and water, danger will fall on your family." One day, as he was the son of a poor man, he became a cowherd boy. He grazed cows. One day, He was grazing the calf of his neighbor, and by chance he took the calf to a water stream. Mohan Biswas had never seen water stream naturally. Having seen the water stream before his eyes, he was so much attracted toward the stream that he did not mind the calf. The calf went away from him and got lost. As the calf was lost, Mohandas hid himself. He concealed himself out of fear of punishment that the neighbor would punish him. He did not go back to his house. Then his father came in search of the boy. He came to the water stream and the father got drowned in the water. He died. After the death of the father, Mohan's Biswas mother became very much desperate. She sold her hut and a small piece of land and went to the house of her sister. And there at the house of her sister that she provided education to her three children. Mohan Biswas was the youngest son. Mohan Biswas was sent to a school. He did not read there. He was not interested in books. Then he was apprenticed to a Brahmin priest, Jairam by name. He wanted to be a pandit, to do puja and other activities and earn money. But he was a failure. He could not be a priest. Then he was engaged in a job, and it was sign writing job. Sign writing job is otherwise known as stenography. And during working as a sign writer, he fell in love with a daughter of his client. Tulsi Pandit was the name of the client. Tulsi Pandit demanded that Mohan Biswas should marry his daughter. So, in spite of his negative choice, Mohan Biswas was bound to marry the girl of Tulsi Pandit. Shanta was her name. After the marriage, as Mohan Biswas was very poor, after the marriage, he was taken to the house of the Tulsis. The Tulsis were a very rich family, having much property, having much social influence. As Tulsi Pandit was a priest, everybody respected him, so there was a social status, social consciousness. So Mohan Biswas remained staying in the house of his wife Shanta as a Ghar Jamai, which he did not like. Mohan Biswas was very much pragmatic by nature. He wanted to do something himself. So he decided that I won't stay here. Why should I stay? So far as I am able to earn money, why should not I take my family somewhere else and have my own house? I want to build my own house. So the the craziness of building a house was already in the mind of Mohan Biswas. Anyway, he became the father of four children, struggled hard. Towards the later part of his life, he became a journalist, earned some money, purchased a house, and he was able to create his own identity. So, this was the synopsis of the novel. Now, come to the second unit of the novel, that is Mr. Biswas and the Tulsis. The Each chapter of the novel has been given a name, and the novel has been divided into two parts. Uh, in the first part, in the first unit, we have several chapters. The first chapter is prologue. Prologue means the beginning. The novel, A House for Mr. Biswas, begins with the death of Mr. Biswas. That Mr. Biswas died of asthma. and he was also suffering from hysteria, and hysteria became overpowering on him, and it turned to spasmodic tendency, and he died of asthma and spasma. So, as the story is beginning with the death of Mohan Biswas, the novelist comes back to his childhood career after beginning the novel with his death. So, this technique, the technique of writing the past, is called flashback technique. So, flashback technique has been adapted by V.S. Naipaul to write this novel. So, as I have told, towards the end part of his life, Mohan Biswas got the job of a journalist in a reputed Trinidadian journal called the Trinidadian Sentinel. He became a journalist there. He earned a lot of money, and by projecting the hero of the novel as a journalist, V.S. Naipaul wants to reflect the biography of his father. The father of V.S. Naipaul, who did not want to be a Pandit, but he became a Pandit under the pressure of his mother, became a journalist towards the end of his life. That is, C. Prasad Naipaul was his father. SEEC Prasad. C. Prasad Naipaul was the father of V.S. Naipaul, who was also a journalist. So there is a parallel between Mohan Biswas and C. Prasad Naipaul. The intention of V.S. Naipaul was to infuse uh, biographical elements into this novel. So from the beginning to the end of the novel, you will find a lot of biography of his father. And another important thing is that this young man, Mohan Biswas, is trying to build a house. Why? Why should somebody try to build a house? What is the intention behind it? We want to have a house of our own because we want to have our own identity in the society. That if you are a tenant, if you are a bhadatia, then people will address you as bhadatia. But if you have a house, people will say he is a house owner, he has a house. So this is the identity of a person. And this boy, Mohan Biswas, wanted to have his own identity. C. Prasad Naipaul, the father of V.S. Naipaul, also wanted to have his own identity because after his marriage, C. Prasad Naipaul had to stay in the house of his wife for many years. Draupadi Naipaul was the mother of V.S. Naipaul. Draupadi, Drapatie. The Hindi word will be Draupadi, but it has been made into uh, Caribbean language, and that is Draupadi, Drapatie. Draupadi Naipaul was the mother of V.S. Naipaul. So after his marriage, C. Prasad Naipaul had to stay several years in the house of his wife, and this he did not like. So we will be finding a lot of similarities between C. Prasad Naipaul and Mohan Biswas. So anyway, in the desire of having a house of his own, Mohan Biswas finally purchased a house, though it was not a complete house. In this house, there was no back door. One door of the house could not be opened, it was always closed. The floor of the house was very dirty, it could not be made clean. Still then, Mohan Biswas and his wife Shanta with their four children adjusted there because adjustment is the sole destiny of the immigrant laborers. Those people who immigrate from their motherland to a foreign nation, they are left with no other option than adjusting themselves to the new locality. So this is their worst destiny. That they do not have any choice. They have simply to adjust. And Mohan Vishwas adjusted there. So this is the first chapter prologue. Second chapter is named Pastoral. And here we will know the close story of the novel that 3 months before the birth of Mohan Vishwas, there was a dispute between his father and mother. Raghu was his father and Bipti, Bipti, Bipti was his mother. So between the wife and husband, the relation was very loose. They were always on dispute on even silly matters. So 3 months before the birth of Mohan Vishwas, there was a dispute, and Bipti left the house of her husband never to come back. She went to the house of her own father with her 3 children. At that time, Sohani, her daughter, was 4 years old. Krishna, her another son, was 2 years old. And this boy was just conceived. Mohan Biswas was just conceived. Anyway, after his birth, Raghu went to his in-laws' house and brought back his wife and children. Raghu was not a fine man. He was a money-minded fellow. He was always in the habit of hoarding money. He was saving a lot of money instead of spending them in case of necessity. So the family was groveling under poverty, but he was not spending even a coin, even a penny for the betterment of the family. So this is why family members did not like Raghu. So when Raghu died, at that time Mohan Biswas was still a baby. He was a cowherd boy. When Raghu died, the death of Raghu was not a blow for the family, rather, it was a relief from tension. After the death, to the family arrived Tara, the sister of Bipti or the aunt of Mohan Biswas. Tara and her husband Ajodha. Tara was a rich woman because Ajodha was earning a lot of money by selling food items to the children. So Tara had a lot of money. As she had a lot of money, she had a domination over the family of Bipti. Anyway, with the arrival of Tara to the family, there was some consolation. Tara was expert in performing Hindu rites and rituals. After the death of her brother Raghu, Tara accomplished a number of rituals. During that time, the Trinidadian Hindus were doing a lot of Hindu rites and rituals. And those rites and rituals were mainly connected to marriage, birth, and death. And Tara was becoming the guide in all those things, how to conduct a ritual, how to perform a worship, how to perform a puja. She had done everything. So people respected Tara. Then come to the next chapter, and the name of the chapter is Before the Tulsis. As we know, Tulsis were the in-laws of Mohan Biswas. Santa, his wife, belonged to the Tulsi family. So after the death of Raghu, the family of Bipti or the family of Mohan Biswas got disintegrated. Bipti sold her hut and sold the land, and with her 3 children, she went to the house of Tara. Under the care of Tara, the 3 children grew. To Mohan Vishwas, Tara was not a fine lady because Tara was indifferent to the demands of Mohan Biswas. As Mohan Biswas was ambitious by nature, from his childhood, he demanded several new things which Tara did not like to provide. This is why Tara was not a fine woman to Mohan Biswas. Anyway, in the house of Tara, Mohan Biswas was admitted into a Canadian mission school. And in that mission school, there was a problem. A teacher was there, a Hindu converted teacher. His name was Lal. Lal was initially a Hindu man, but later on he became a Christian. And after being Christian, Lal wanted criticizing the Hindus. So when Mohan Biswas went to the school, Lal criticized Mohan Biswas like anything, as a result of which Mohan Biswas stopped going to school. Then he wanted to be a priest. This is why he took the initiation by a Pandit whose name was Jairam. Jairam tried his best to initiate the boy, but Mohan Biswas was indifferent to this profession also. He stopped the activities of worshipping, and then he grew up, became a sign writer, fell in love with Shanta, and married her. Then the next chapter, the Tulsis. Tulsis were a dominant family in that area where Mohan Biswas was living. Because first thing, Tulsis were very rich. Second thing, as they were priest community, priest family, people paid respect to the family members. And third, they had a large house. And Tulsis had given a very beautiful name to the house, that is Hanuman house. Hanuman house was a symbol of pride, symbol of ego of the Hindu Brahmins. The house, Hanuman house, a large house, looked like a white fortress, assertive and defiant. In this household, this boy, Mohan Biswas, got suffocated. He did not like to stay here, but as he had no alternative, he was bound to stay there with his wife. Problem was mental, because Mohan Biswas had a different mindset of, whereas Tulsi family had a different mindset of. Tulsi families were all Sanatanists by nature, and Sanatanists always worshipped very vigorously. They were great worshippers of Hindu gods and goddesses, and they were the staunch practitioners of rites and rituals. On the other hand, this boy was an Arya Samajist. Arya Samajists do not believe in rites and rituals. They simplify Hindu religion by cutting down all the nonsense practices and rituals. So, as the in-laws of Mohan Biswas practiced a number of rituals, Mohan Biswas criticized them. So there was a rift, there was a gap between Mohan Biswas and his in-laws members. Unable to tolerate the mental torture, Mohan Biswas finally decided to shift his family to a new place. And the name of this new locality was Chase, the Chase, Chase, Chase. It is sometimes pronounced as Chase, the Chase or the Chase. The Chase was a new locality full of barracks lines. Remember the word barrack lines. Barrack lines are the colonies of the indentured laborers. Indentured laborers were allowed to stay in barrack lines. In barrack lines, there were a large number of small houses. Each house had only one room of 8 by 12 size. In that small room, one family was accommodated. There might be 4 members, 5 members, or 6 members in that family, but they were given only one room of 8 by 12 size. And so the church was in a barrack lines area. Mohan Biswas shifted his house to this barrack line area because he decided to sell food items to the children of barrack line area because they were poor children, and so they were eager to purchase very small things, very better things, and he sold very small things, better things to the children and earned some money there. But still here, he could not feel free because the house where he had shifted actually belonged to Tulsi family. This house had 2 rooms and one kitchen. As this was also the house of Tulsi family, he did not feel any sense of independence here. Initially, Shama did not like to come here, but under the pressure of her husband, she came here with her children. They stayed here. Shama compromised, she adjusted, she renovated the house to the ability of, to the best of her ability. And anyway, they continued their life here in the church. The church had been surrounded by a green veil. Another chapter, green veil. Green veil was a valley, a large land area having plenty of green trees. Because of green trees, the whole environment was calm and quiet, full of coolness. But life inside this cool atmosphere was not cool. Rather, life was cold because the human beings who were living in this greenery circumstance were all laborers, day wagers who did not have enough to spend. And amidst them, Mohan Biswas' life also got synchronized. He could not think of other development of his life. He only concentrated on earning few coins every day to sustain his family members. Beyond that, he had no higher thought in his mind. Anyway, one day a storm broke out, and in the storm, the small house of Mohan Biswas blew away. And as a result of this, he was bound again to come back to the house of the Tulsis. He again became a Ghar Jamai there. He had to spend with those family members with whom he did not have mental compatibility. There, here he stayed, and here in his second stay with the Biswas that Mohan suffered from hysteria, a psychophysical problem. A Roman Catholic doctor came to visit Mohan. He prescribed a number of vitamins. He prescribed several doses of other medicine. But the family members of Tulsi, they believed that Mohan Biswas had been possessed with spirit at the change. So his spirit should be exorcised. This is why they invited a man, a sorcerer who knew mantras and tantras, and they tried their best to remove the spirit from the body of Mohan Biswas, and Mohan Biswas became angry. That what nonsense are you all doing? I do not have any spirit in my body. I am very much free. I feel comfortable here. He felt comfortable there for several days. But the idea of having a house was hunting him 24 hours. And finally,
Mhm.
the dream of house became very mature in his mind. He made a final thought of purchasing a house. This was the first unit of the novel. Let us come to the second unit. That is the first unit of second part is Mr. Biswas and his dream house. Mr. Biswas, as he had some coins in his purse, he became very much enthusiastic to purchase a house. So, after being relieved from hysteria, he went to meet his close friend in the town, Ramchand. Ramchand was an established man at the time. He requested Ramchand to provide him a suitable job. Ramchand refused to give him any job. Then he went to another friend, Dehati. Dehati was also a successful businessman, but Dehati was also unable to provide any job to Mohan Biswas. And being unable to procure a suitable work for himself, Mohan Das, Mohan Biswas was again visited with spasm and hysteria. His hysteria returned. He became a sick man again, and in the face of his sickness, he was able to get him a job in the journal Trinidad Sentinel. Trinidad Sentinel was at that time a popular journal in Trinidad. He got the job of journalist there, $15 per fortnight. For a labor of 15 days, he was salaried $15, and it was not a less amount for Mohan Biswas. So, money came, with money came the social status, and with social status came respect for him. The society respected Mohan Biswas. The society called him a journalist. The children of Mohan Biswas also respected him. His eldest son, Anand, who was a school going boy, respected his father very much. Even Shanta, the wife, who was always quarreling with Mohan Biswas, became a devoted woman, devoted lady. She would be waiting for the coming of Mohan Biswas from office. When we would come, she would help removing his coat, removing his shirt, and providing tea and coffee to him. In this way, a bond of love existed in the family. But the work in the journalism was not smooth because the chief editor, Mr. Burnett, left Trinidad and Tobago for life. He went to America for higher job. So the whole entire responsibility of the journal fell upon Mohan Biswas, which he was unable to carry out. Anyway, he managed, but he could not manage it successfully. Still then, money came to his purse, journalism went his own way. Meanwhile, danger fell on the family of the Tulsis. The Tulsi Pandit died. After the death of Tulsi Pandit, the family of Tulsis got disoriented. The family members, they became unionless. Poverty came to the family. Then, as V.S. Naipaul is using the word economizing measures, the Tulsi family adopted economizing measures to adjust with the poverty stricken situation. For example, the Tulsi family used maize flour from the paddy which was being cultivated in their own land. They also prepared coconut oil instead of purchasing tube coconut oil from the market. Finally, the Tulsi family decided to shift their establishment to another state, another locality, that was the Short Hills locality. And there at the Short Hills locality, they cultivated dairy farm to become rich overnight. And the dairy farm gave some money to Tulsi family, but not sufficient enough. Okay, friends, still we are lagging behind the target. The time is over. Uh, Again, I would request you, if you have any doubt, any queries, you can please say me. Welcome, friends.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
So then, how is the title of the novel apt to this? Then, on what condition was the title given that a
yes,
house of
yeah. Okay, okay. It is a very fine question. And actually, your question constitutes one chapter, which is the fifth unit of this block. But unfortunately, we could not reach up to that point. So the title, A House for Mr. Biswas. Here, house is not a physical structure. Your house means stability. Stability for Mr. Biswas. As I have told, this novel has a lot of biographical and autobiographical elements in it. And this man, V.S. Naipaul, is a diasporian writer. He is a diasporic. Diasporic is a man who leaves his motherland in search of better fortune, goes to abroad, settles there, and earns money. Such was the mindset of V.S. Naipaul, and every diasporic suffers from identity crisis. They think that they do not have a root. What is their root to? Which root they belong to? And the Indians who are living in West Indies, they do not have any root. No doubt they belong to Indian descendants, but though Indian culture is in their blood, they are unable to celebrate this culture. They are unable to carry out this culture, and as a result of this, they suffer from cultural gap. And this cultural gap gives them acute alienation. And this alienation is the other name of rootlessness. And a man who does not have a root always remains in floating state. And nobody likes to be in floating state. Everybody likes to be down to earth. Everybody of us want to be down to the earth. We want to get stuck to the earth where upon which we are standing. We do not like to be in floating condition. And Mohan Biswas was in floating condition. He does not have any title, he does not have any identity in the society, and he wanted to assert his identity. He wanted to carve a niche among the people, among the people of his neighborhood, as a man of his own identity. And in order to have an identity, he wanted to have a house. So this is why the title of the novel says that everybody should have a house, means everybody should have an identity of their own. Okay?
Yeah, so can we relate that V.S. Naipaul has himself depicted as the protagonist of the novel?
No, 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 no.
Or he's
V.S. Naipaul has reflected his own father in the protagonist. That is Mohan Biswas.
oh,
Mohan Biswas has a lot of similarities with C. Prasad Naipaul, the father of Mohan Biswas. Sorry, V.S. Naipaul. On the other hand, Mohan Biswas has a son, Anand. Anand shares some similarity with V.S. Naipaul. Okay?
okay, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir. Thank you.
Okay. So do we leave, friends?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.